to International Wives of African Men. I'm Bakita, and I'm speaking to Ruby from Australia. How are you?
I'm good.
And where's your man from?
He's from Nigeria, but living in Ghana.
How did you all meet?
We actually met on Facebook.
Oh, cool.
I was the quite skeptical one of like never internet dating, never ever meeting anyone online, especially, I have to say, a Nigerian, me being skeptical of the 419.
Right.
So I knew a lot about them.
Right.
I had a lot of Nigerian friends in Czech Republic where I was actually living
for
5 years when I met him online.
Okay.
And it was just a really weird like way to meet because it wasn't through like a dating page or anything like that. It was like me being bored one day, like creeping on other people's. But you know how you creep through people?
Yes.
And then I came across his page and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the hottest guy I've ever seen in my whole entire life.
Really?
Me being pretty outgoing, I was just like, damn, you're hot. That was the first thing I said to him.
Are you serious?
No hi, no hello. I was like, damn, you're hot.
Are you serious? Like,
Yes.
just out like that?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know this guy. It wasn't, I wasn't writing him to date him or to have a relationship whatsoever. It was just like, I just have to say something because he's the hottest guy I've ever met in my life. Because I just wrote it, turned off Facebook, went to work, and then I came home to a message like, hi, oh my gosh, you're totally the type of girl that I think is good looking too, and like, how are you, what do you do, and like a million questions.
Oh, wow.
And then that turned me off.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just like, no, it's a little bit too full on. Like, okay, I was full on.
Okay.
And then he kept writing and writing and writing me, like, over the next week. And I was like, this poor guy, like, I have to write him back now. And so I was like, oh, you can write me by email or here, like, whatever. So we started communicating by email as well, which felt a little bit more comfortable other than Facebook because of what I've heard about Facebook and meeting on Facebook. But it's not all true, obviously. But then he wanted me to come on Skype, and then I was even more, like, sort of nervous as well. But then it was sort of a good sign at the same time because I was, like, also during this time started to watch this show called Catfish.
Oh, God, I love Catfish.
So I was, like, picking up all the things, and me and my flatmate were sitting there every night watching Catfish because I was obviously talking to her about meeting this guy, and he's, like, the best-looking guy ever, and I don't know much about him, and he wants to Skype, and she's like, well, we should watch Catfish, and then, like, pick up all the hints on how to, like, track this person down if he's not real.
Of course.
So, anyway, I added him to Skype, and the first thing he wanted to do was actually video chat.
Wonderful.
So that was, like, the first good sign.
Yes.
But then, so I believe his person, like, his picture matches his person. Right. But then I still was really skeptical about any information he told me was true. I just had a few bad experiences.
Yeah.
And that really, it didn't put me off, but it made me really careful.
Right.
I was always open to a Nigerian. Nigerians I was always very skeptical about, only because of the bad experiences that I personally had.
Right.
So then I did a little bit of catfish stalking on him online and like Googled his name and like dragged his picture onto to see if any other pictures came up according to different names. And I actually found his CV online and I saved it. But I never told him I found it.
Right.
I always felt like an interviewer where I was like sneaking in little questions here and there whilst, you know, having a normal conversation on what was on his CV.
Girl, I believe that's what we're supposed to do. How did you end up like saying, okay?
It was all over. I think I met him I wrote him on Facebook. March. And I was in Ghana. I landed in Ghana on the 15th of July. So there was only like 4 months between that.
Okay.
I knew Africa was going to be one of those places where I just wanted to stay.
Yeah.
All my life I wanted to go there.
Did you go to visit first, or did you just say, I'm moving there?
I didn't go and visit first. It was really like all or nothing. He sent me the invitation letter, whatever, to come. I got the visa the next week. I booked the flight as soon as the visa got back, and the next week I was leaving. So I had like a week and a half to pack up my life in Czech Republic and get to Ghana.
Wow.
Still to this point, I hadn't really told many people about him.
Really? Why not?
I don't know, actually. I told a few people. I hadn't told my family yet because of everything. Yeah,
Girl!
I did call them and tell them, and my mum flipped out and started crying and was like, you can't go, I'm begging you not to go. You just come home, like, you're crazy.
Okay, help me out. So, what is keeping you from telling your family?
I had a lot of bad experiences with my ex-boyfriend, so they were really scared of something happening again.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah, so they were more so protective.
Right. That's
me going
pretty
to Africa
understandable.
by myself, not knowing this person. I had told a few people about like at that stage it was an idea of moving and leaving, and I got really negative feedback, like I'm crazy and you're going to get raped, you're going to get murdered, you're going to get kidnapped, you're going to Africa.
Oh, wow.
Like people going and telling me, like asking me, do I have enough money, where that's none of their business whatsoever.
What?
I think my flatmates were the only people who really supported me. I was really tough on him, like, because I didn't want another bad experience, so I was kind of like, I'm just going to be black and white, and if he doesn't like it, at least I will know before I get to Africa.
Right.
You have to know what you want.
Exactly.
Because that got me into trouble before, of not knowing what I wanted, but being very flexible about it. So
yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to spend all this money and quit a job and like move away from all my friends and move even further from my family in Australia to pretend to someone I'm something when I'm not, or pretend I like something when I don't.
Right.
So if he doesn't like it, in the end, it's not going to work out anyway. So what's the point? Like, just be upfront and tell them black and white how it is. Like, I was so blunt to the point where I was like, if for a second you treat me like an African woman in that sense of, you bring me water, you clean my plate, you cook for me every day, you clean my house, and I sit here and work. Like, I wasn't like that. I work too. I'm brought up in a very different culture, and I wanted to make sure he understood that as well, and not say like, oh, because you're in Africa, you have to be like one of our women. Right.
So speaking of culture, you being Australian and him being, of course, African, how has that been working with you all? You know, I know it with you living in Ghana, that had to be, I know it's a lot different than being in Australia, because it's a lot different than being in America. But how have you managed, or how have you all managed to get past those big differences? Like, we have some really big differences from those guys.
Yeah, I think it helped that both of us were very traveled and very open to new experiences and new things. And you have to be open to be able to learn something about each other and not just say, this is my way.
Right.
Because at times, of course, we wanted to say, this is my way, this is how we do it. But you have to respect the fact that they come from a different culture and they have a different lifestyle and they've been brought up on different morals. So you always have to have that at the back of your head as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best thing that we have very open communication. So,
how was the experience as far as being Obruni, living in Ghana, and being with the African man? How was the interaction outside of the house? You had to go to the market or to dinner or wherever you did. What was that like?
It was not bad at all. Like, my Canadians actually made it very apparent that I was even whiter than white, because they would always call me Obruni Fresh. everywhere I went, it was a Bruni Fresh. So I was like, oh my gosh, I must be really white. And my fiance would always laugh at me, like, because he knew that I would sit in the sun.
Yeah.
So I would sometimes, like, go out onto the road and just sit in the sun, you know, just watch people go by. And then I had a few old ladies come and ask me if I'm ill.
Aww.
And I asked them, like, why? Like, I asked my fiance, like, why are they asking if I'm sick? And they said, because he said it's not normal for you to sit in the sun all day.
Oh,
wow. I was so darker. So they thought there was something wrong with me, like I was cold and needed to get warm or something.
Oh, but it was nice that they were concerned.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was always really, really nice to me. I never had any problems with anyone. If I was with my fiance, like, no one generally would come and ask for photos because they didn't want to disturb us as well.
Right.
Because they knew we're together. But then, like, he would go and play football or soccer with the boys, like other boys playing on the beach. So I would be sitting there by myself, which was fine, you know. I would just be like lying in the sun or going in the water, or whatever. But then I had like a whole, at one time I had like 15 young people around me, like asking to take photos, like a whole group of them.
Really?
I could never ever sit at Labadi Beach and not be disturbed. Like, it wasn't my, and like the ocean being from Australia is my happy place, but Labadi is definitely not my happy place. From all, you know, people stop me for photos and like, oh, Bruni Fresh, can you take a photo with me?
Are you serious?
Yeah, like in the middle of ShopRite.
Now you're in Australia.
Yeah.
And you're pregnant.
Correct.
How does your family feel about you being pregnant?
They are excited. They really love my fiance. Like,
okay, I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that not many people know about your relationship. And you're getting ready to have a baby. So, like...
Now people know.
Okay.
But I didn't really say it out loud to the rest of my Facebook friends or my real friends that it was happening until it happened. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Until it became serious, until we knew that this is going to work, and, you know, we discovered that in the first week. Like, you always know in the first week if it's going to work or not. If you're like me in black and white and not pretending anything and not pretending you're someone else, you know if it's going to work or not. Or in the first 2 weeks, just whether you're strong enough to believe it. So good or bad, like especially bad.
Yeah.
You have to have it in your head that if it's bad, it's bad. You can't pretend and hope that it's going to get better, because if it's the first few days, that should be your like love bubble.
Right.
And it should be even better than what it will be, especially in the first 3, 4, 5 days.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not working. You just got to like suck it up and just say it to yourself.
You're Australian and he's Nigerian. So is the baby going to have an Australian name or a Nigerian name or a mixture?
We worked backwards on this, actually, on the 3 names. We decided 3 names, like a first, middle, and last name.
Okay.
So we agreed because we're not yet married.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be, but it just happened this way. Like, it was a surprise, and we were both ecstatic about it. We decided that it's going to take his last name.
Okay.
First tick off the box. I was happy with that. He was happy with that because my name will change, obviously, to his name, so it's easier to just name the baby after him. I actually was the one that suggested to keep some African heritage into it, because I assume, or we both assume, that most of the time we're going to be in Australia.
Okay.
Like, we want to bring the baby up in Ghana, like, for the first few years, but then after that we want to spend quite some time in Australia.
Okay.
So I still wanted the baby to have that African link.
Right.
So the baby wants to take his local name, like his Nigerian local name, which is Ozemoya. I can't remember right now what it means, but it has a meaning to it.
Right.
And then we haven't decided on the first name, but the first name is going to be a British name.
Okay.
To me, he's got like 2 things from his father, the middle name and the last name, and I kind of want a link to me as well.
Right.
So we decided that the first name would be British, but we're still not arguing, but contemplating over the first name.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided yet.